Have you ever looked at your own life, at the relationship you are in, and asked yourself, why am I? Have you ever looked at your own life, at the relationship you are in, and asked yourself, why am I still here? You are smart, capable, and logical in every other area of your life. Your friends see the damage being done to you. You feel the damage being done to you. You know the relationship is toxic, perhaps even abusive. You know they are lying, manipulating, and hurting you. Yet, when they finally text you back, when they touch your arm and apologize, or when they offer a fleeting moment of warmth, your body physically relaxes. You find yourself forgiving them, yet again, and you stay. You might feel profound shame about this. You might ask yourself why you are so weak, or why you cannot simply walk away. But the truth is, you are not weak. Your nervous system has been hijacked. What you are experiencing is not a psychological failing, nor is it a sign of a deep, mystical soulmate connection. It is a biological addiction. You are trapped in a trauma bond, and to break free, you have to stop trying to think your way out of it and start treating it like the severe neurochemical dependency that it is. Welcome to Mind Vault 305. Today, we are diving deep into the neuroscience and psychology of trauma bonding. We are going to explore why your brain craves the very person who is destroying your peace, how the cycle of intermittent reinforcement keeps you addicted to the chaos, and most importantly, how you can finally break free and reclaim your life. To understand why you cannot just leave, we first have to understand what a trauma bond actually is. The term, trauma bonding, was first coined in the late 1990s by Dr. Patrick Carnes to describe the unhealthy, powerful emotional attachment that survivors often feel toward their abusers. It is important to clarify that a trauma bond is not about two people bonding over a shared traumatic experience. Rather, it is an attachment formed between a victim and an abuser, forged in the fires of a power imbalance and a cycle of punishment and reward. It is a biological addiction to a toxic person. It happens when the person who is causing your pain is simultaneously the only person who can comfort you, creating a desperate, confusing cycle of dependence. In a healthy relationship, your brain produces a steady, calm stream of bonding chemicals. You feel safe, secure, and relaxed. The connection is predictable. But in an abusive or highly toxic relationship, the abuser creates a roller coaster of extreme highs and extreme lows. This volatility forces your brain to produce massive, unnatural spikes of stress hormones, followed by massive, unnatural spikes of reward chemicals. Over time, your brain's baseline shifts. It stops responding to the quiet safety of normal interactions and begins to crave the intense neurochemical cocktail of the abuse cycle. You become addicted to the roller coaster. This isn't just a metaphor. Studies have shown that the brain activity in individuals experiencing trauma bonds can strikingly resemble that of drug addiction, with similar neural pathways being activated during the cycles of craving and relief. Let us look at the four primary chemicals involved in this biological hijacking. First, there is dopamine, the craving chemical. During the initial love bombing phase, or during periods of reconciliation, the abuser floods you with attention, praise, and affection. Your brain releases massive amounts of dopamine, creating a feeling of euphoria. Dopamine is less about pleasure and more about motivation. It drives goal-directed behavior. When the abuser withdraws, the dopamine drops, creating an intense craving to get that feeling back. Your brain is motivated to do whatever it takes to secure the next hit of dopamine. This intense pursuit of the reward, even in the face of negative consequences, is a hallmark of addictive behavior. Second, we have oxytocin, the bonding hormone. Oxytocin is released during physical touch and moments of perceived intimacy. It creates a profound sense of trust and attachment. In a trauma bond, oxytocin binds you to the abuser even when your logical brain knows they are dangerous. It cements the connection, which is why leaving someone who harms you can physically feel like withdrawal. The brain, in its attempt to find safety and connection, misinterprets these intermittent moments of warmth as genuine love, further solidifying the bond. Third is cortisol, the stress hormone. During the devaluation phase, when you are subjected to the silent treatment, gaslighting, criticism, or rage, your brain is flooded with cortisol. You feel panicked, anxious, and terrified. Your body is thrown into a state of life or death survival mode. You are walking on eggshells, hypervigilant to any shift in their mood. This constant state of alert exhausts your nervous system and primes it for the subsequent relief. Finally, there are endogenous opioids, the body's natural painkillers. When the abuser finally apologizes, shows kindness, or ends the silent treatment, the profound relief triggers the release of these opioids. They flood your system, creating a feeling of deep, narcotic-like comfort. This is why the makeup phase of a toxic relationship feels so intensely passionate and relieving. The brain associates the abuser not only with pain but also with the powerful relief from that pain, creating a vicious cycle. This neurochemical cocktail is driven by a psychological concept known as intermittent reinforcement. Intermittent reinforcement is a behavioral psychology principle where rewards are delivered unpredictably rather than consistently. It is the exact same mechanism that makes slot machines so addictive. If a slot machine paid out every single time you pulled the lever, you would eventually get bored and walk away. If it never paid out, you would stop playing immediately. But because it pays out unpredictably, your brain becomes obsessed with the lever. The uncertainty itself becomes motivating. Consider the classic experiment by B.F. Skinner, where pigeons pecked a lever more persistently when rewards were given intermittently than when they were given consistently. The unpredictability creates a powerful, almost compulsive drive to continue the behavior, always hoping for the next reward. In a toxic relationship, the abuser is the slot machine. If they were abusive 100% of the time, you would leave. If they were kind 100% of the time, it would be a healthy relationship. It is the unpredictability, the fact that the person who is terrifying you is also the only person who can comfort you, that creates the unbreakable bond. They alternate between periods of idealization and devaluation. One day they are loving, planning trips, and complimenting you. The next day, they ignore your texts for hours, criticize you, or withdraw affection completely. For instance, a partner might shower you with expensive gifts and declarations of love after a period of intense emotional abuse, making you cling to the hope that the good version of them has returned for good. This creates a powerful emotional whiplash, where the brief moments of kindness are amplified by the preceding pain, making them feel incredibly potent and significant. Your brain becomes conditioned to seek relief from distress through the very person who is causing it, distorting your ability to assess danger or self-worth accurately. Because these rewards come unpredictably, your brain is constantly on edge, craving that next hit of affection or validation. You find yourself analyzing their moods, replaying conversations, and adjusting your behavior to try to bring back the loving version of them. You become hooked not on the reward itself, but on the possibility of a reward. Your brain learns that the only way to stop the cortisol panic is to get the dopamine hit from the abuser. You become biologically dependent on your captor for emotional regulation. This is not a conscious choice. It is a primal survival mechanism that has been exploited and rewired. The constant uncertainty and the desperate hope for the return of the good times keep you trapped in a cycle that feels impossible to escape. This is why friends and family often struggle to understand why someone doesn't just leave, they don't see the invisible chains of neurochemical addiction at play. This dynamic is incredibly insidious because it distorts your perception of reality. You begin to rationalize or minimize the repeated harm. You feel intense loyalty to someone who regularly disrespects your boundaries. You internalize the blame, thinking that if you were just a little more patient, a little more understanding, or a little less sensitive, they would treat you better. You mistake the intensity of the anxiety and the relief for a deep, special connection. You might even believe you are soulmates, destined to be together, because the highs feel so incredibly high. But those highs are just the relief of the pain stopping. The constant uncertainty and the desperate hope for the return of the idealized partner creates a cognitive dissonance that is incredibly difficult to resolve. You might find yourself defending your abuser, making excuses for their behavior, or even blaming yourself for their actions. This self-blame is a common psychological defense mechanism, a way for the mind to try and make sense of an otherwise senseless and painful situation. It is also crucial to understand that our susceptibility to trauma bonding often has roots in our childhood. Your brain does not necessarily bond to what is healthy, it bonds to what is familiar. If chaos, neglect, criticism, or unpredictable affection were part of your early environment, your nervous system might unconsciously equate anxiety with love. If you grew up with an inconsistent caregiver, your brain made neural associations between love and emotional pain. These pathways do not disappear when you grow up. They get reactivated in adult relationships, especially ones that mimic that early dynamic. You are not broken. You are neurologically looping through old survival strategies. This is not a sign of weakness, but rather a testament to the brain's incredible capacity to adapt and survive, even in the most challenging circumstances. However, these adaptations, while protective in childhood, can become detrimental in adulthood, leading us to repeat painful patterns. So, how do you break free? How do you sever a bond that is wired into your very biology? The first step is to name what is happening. You must recognize that this is not a sign of weakness, nor is it true love. It is trauma chemistry. Naming it gives you power. It allows you to step back and view the relationship through the lens of biology rather than romantic destiny. This intellectual understanding is the first crack in the wall of denial and confusion. The second step, and often the most difficult, is establishing absolute no contact. Because a trauma bond is a severe chemical addiction, you cannot simply taper off. You must go cold turkey. Every text message, every glance at their social media, every attempt at a closure conversation is a hit of the drug. It resets the neurochemical cycle and floods your brain with dopamine and cortisol all over again. If you share children or have unavoidable ties, you must establish strict, emotionless parallel parenting or communication through a third party. You have to cut off the supply. This is not about being cruel, it is about self-preservation and creating the necessary space for your brain to begin to heal and detoxify from the addictive cycle. Third, you must expect and plan for the withdrawal. The period after leaving a trauma bond is agonizing. Your brain will scream at you to reach out. You will experience intrusive thoughts, panic attacks, and profound grief. Your body will crave the oxytocin and dopamine it used to get from the reconciliation phase. You must understand that this pain is a symptom of withdrawal, not a sign that you made the wrong decision. You have to regulate your nervous system through somatic tools like deep breathing, cold exposure, or bilateral movement to signal to your body that you are safe without the abuser. Engaging in mindfulness practices, yoga, or intense exercise can help to re-regulate your nervous system and provide healthier ways to cope with the intense emotional and physical sensations of withdrawal. It's a process of retraining your brain to find comfort and safety within yourself, rather than from an external, unpredictable source. Fourth, you must replace the pattern, not just the person. If you jump from one toxic relationship to the next, nothing changes. You have to create a new emotional baseline, one that values peace over intensity. You must learn to tolerate the quiet, steady warmth of healthy, secure attachment. At first, a healthy relationship might feel boring. That is simply your nervous system detoxing from the chaos. Let it be boring. Cultivate calm, secure relationships with friends and professionals who support your healing. This involves actively seeking out relationships that are characterized by consistency, respect, and mutual support, and learning to recognize and appreciate these qualities, even if they don't provide the same intense emotional highs as the trauma bond. Finally, you must do the deep work to understand why your nervous system was susceptible to the bond in the first place. This often involves exploring family of origin dynamics and healing childhood wounds. Working with a trauma-informed therapist who understands the neurobiology of coercive control and uses somatic interventions can be life-changing. Therapies like EMDR, internal family systems, IFS, or brainspotting can help to process past traumas and rewire neural pathways, allowing you to develop healthier attachment patterns. The goal is not just to survive the abuser, but to rebuild a foundation so solid that a toxic dynamic never feels like home again. This journey of self-discovery and healing is not easy, but it is profoundly transformative, leading to a deeper sense of self-worth and resilience. Breaking a trauma bond is one of the hardest things you will ever do, but it is entirely possible. You can hold the complexity of your experience. You can acknowledge that you loved them, that you saw their wounded inner child, and that you wanted them to heal. And at the same time, you can hold the truth that their behavior was destroying you, and that empathy without boundaries is self-destruction. You can hold that leaving feels like you are dying, while knowing that staying will actually kill your spirit. This paradox is the essence of the trauma bond, and recognizing it is a crucial step towards liberation. You are wired to bond, but you have the power to rewire those bonds to serve you, not sabotage you. The fog will lift. The withdrawal will end. And when it does, you will see clearly that what felt like love was just survival masquerading as connection. You deserve a love that is consistent, safe, and peaceful. You deserve to be free. Remember, healing is not linear, and there will be good days and bad days. Be patient and compassionate with yourself throughout this process. Seek support, trust your instincts, and know that a life free from the chains of trauma bonding is not just a possibility, but your inherent right. Thank you for joining us in the Mind Vault. If this resonated with you, take a moment to reflect on your own patterns. The journey to healing begins with awareness. Until next time, protect your peace and guard your mind.